Our daughter's room has come a long way, but I'm still not liking it. Nothing looks cohesive and we don't really have a set style going on, but we're about to change that by building these built-in bunk beds that are super unique, custom, and we learned a lot along the way. I started applying painter's tape on the wall so Dallin could see what was in my head, and also so we could get our exact measurements. And then we also were trying to figure out a plan for this nook, which we have some crazy ideas for, so subscribe to watch us transform that as well. We marked and drew out all of our measurements so that we could get a clear vision of our design, and so that we could both be on the same page. Dallin headed to the store and grabbed all of our supplies, one of them being our favorite nickel gap shiplap, which comes in huge 4x8 sheets and is a common design throughout our home. As we started moving everything out of the way, we couldn't remember if there was an outlet behind the bed or not, so I was so excited to find that there was, which means we can move forward with putting power in individual cubbies, which is my favorite design detail for this project. After installing our first pieces of shiplap, it's time for the building. Unlike our playground, this is our first built-in project that is completely our own design. And since we don't have a garage, we love our little Ryobi miter saw that is perfect for indoor projects and cutting 2x4s. This frame we're building is for the head of our bunk beds and has a cubby for each bed. To avoid confusion and miscuts, we placed the frame on top of our shiplap and traced out where we needed to cut. Oh, you're like super heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think it works. Oh. As snug as a bug in a rug. Perfect. Dallin attached the frame to the studs, and I cleaned one spot off the wall. Now we had to make our frame for the end of our bed that has the steps going up to the top. After Dallin secured this frame into the stud is about when he realized that he made a pretty big mistake. You're on the hot seat. Can you remember the numbers at all? Any numbers?
No.
Like one number. No. He had written down the measurements of the studs on that wall but covered them up with the shiplap, and you can't use a stud finder of a shiplap, so he had to keep drilling to find one and then measure every 16 inches from there. Now that the platform is built, things are starting to get pretty fun.
There you go.
Now it's time to figure out the lighting for our cubbies, which was a bit tricky. Instead of waiting a week for our lights to come, I ran to Ace Hardware and grabbed these ugly lights that I was able to transform with my no-so lampshade tutorial. When it came to choosing a paint color, I wanted to be bold and decided to go with Heirloom Yellow and the Magnolia paint line, which is a unique, very vintagey yellow. Let me know in the comments what color you will pick.
Why is nothing ever little?
There's always at least one mistake with every project, and accidentally cutting this whole piece in half was one of them. But we made it right because we wanted our steps to be thicker, and it turned out. whenever I have a design problem, I like to plug it into Canva because it really helps me see what my vision is and if it actually is going to look good. And I'm so glad I did because it looks so silly now that I can see it, my original plan. What I was originally going to do was put all these like little corner designs on the top and bottom corner of both bunks. The problem is that we need a railing up here because it's the top bunk. The problem with that is that that makes this top opening smaller and the lower opening bigger, so it doesn't look symmetrical. I thought, well, maybe if we cut out some holes in the railing, that would open it up, but it still looks funny. And then I tried to take that out and switch just doing, you know, a normal post railing, and that also looks silly because it doesn't solve the opening problem. So the new and improved design is I'm just going to be putting these little corner designs in the top corners and do a railing across the top bunk. It keeps it open. I was a little worried about not being able to see the bedding up here. I would like to be able to see, you know, the bedding on both bunks, and I think that takes care of that. So this is a lot better, but totally Canva is the way to go. I just can take a picture and start plugging in everything and change the colors of it and the shapes and all that. So yeah, this is the one we're gonna go with, and hopefully it looks as good as it does on there. I freehanded my first design and I really liked how it turned out, but I realized I wasn't going to be able to duplicate it exactly that way. So instead I took a large paper bag and traced out my design and cut it out to make a template. That way I could put it onto each corner. For the railing piece, I cut a long, thin strip of wrapping paper, drew my design onto half of it, folded it in half, and then cut along that design. It was like a mirror image, and then I traced it onto my board, and now I have a unique railing. Seeing this part of the design come to life was by far my favorite part. I really wanted this to be a built-in look, which is why I decided to have whole pieces of plywood on the front. And the corner design and the railing design that I drew really gave it the charm and character I was looking for, and we wouldn't be able to achieve that without our jigsaw and our circular saw, which we've had for years, and we use them for every single project. We absolutely love them.
Looks like a cloud.
That's not right. This needs to be like up here.
It looks good.
I don't know what I did. I measured it out. I did write all my measurements on a scrap piece of wood that maybe was a little hard to read. This is the exact shape and style I was going for, but with this design, someone could just roll right out of bed. So as usual, we roll with the punches and cut it in half to keep the top as is and alter and work on the bottom half. We made sure everything was level and ended up trimming a couple inches in the middle so that the railing would be higher, and here's what it looks like from inside the bunk. Dallin held up the second piece of plywood for me to trace the top design onto so they would match exactly. We designed these bunk beds around the BRIMNES Ikea pull-out bed that pulls out to a king for lots of sleeping options. We're deciding to use the same trim that we have around the cubbies up top because that cool gap right there needs to be hidden. So this is a test. Did I do that right? Wait a minute. How did I just lose?
The big top. Big part up top.
Like that. Okay. Okay, so we're just testing the angles. Okay, so that's kind of what it would look like. Do we like that? Mother of earth, if I can keep it.
better than it did.
That's our standard of work. As long as it looks better than it did. That's good. We absolutely love how these bunk beds turned out, and the charm that they give this room is super unique and timeless, but we're not done yet. This is a full room renovation, which means we still need to add wallpaper, transform that nook we showed you at the beginning into a really cool playhouse. We have so many fun ideas and so much more. If you want to see the rest of our house transformations or other projects, click here.